What if you and me had a little ranch somewhere, a little cow and calf operation? Be a sweet life.
Jake Gyllenhaal's gonna be the one that dies. Hi everybody, and welcome back to our second Film Friday.
Yay, Film Friday! Woohoo!
This is also our second movie of Pride, and we are checking Brokeback Mountain off the shame list. So, I have never seen this.
I have several times.
Sam has, and I know you have mixed feelings about it.
I think most people in the queer community have mixed feelings about Brokeback Mountain.
That's fair.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about it is it's Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger, rest in peace. Isn't Anne Hathaway in this?
Yes. Anne Hathaway is in this.
I have no idea why I know that, but I remember hearing something at some point. I don't know. Girl gets around. She works. Good for her.
And this was right after she did Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, so this was the first movie she didn't get a makeover in.
Correct. Yes. This was supposed to be an art house film. Mm-hmm. It was done on a $14 million budget. Oh. It was adapted from a short story written in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And then it blew up into this huge box office success. Mm-hmm. Did quite well at the Academies and the Golden Globes, the British Film Awards.
It's one that exists in pop culture. Like, it's impossible not to know anything about it. I know it's about two gay cowboys, and I'm assuming one of them at least dies because it's a sad film.
Bury your gays, baby. This is what I would consider to be an important... It might not be a happy queer movie, but this is a landmark in queer cinema because this was the first movie where a lot of Americans saw gayness. Yeah. Like, they had never seen it before. Period. Yeah. And especially to do it on the big screen released by a major motion picture company, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, again, the subject matter is harsh and hardcore. And what I think one of the reasons why I do love the movie is that it is realistic in its description of the queer experience during the 60s, 70s, and 80s when it takes place.
I didn't know that's when it took place. So
yes,
good to know.
It's between 1963 and 1983.
Really fun time.
Yes.
For the queer community, I imagine. Yeah. Just a really, really great time.
Yeah. It is a brilliantly acted film, a beautifully directed film. Actually, Ang Lee, who directed it, he won the Academy Award for Best Direction for Brokeback Mountain in 2000 at the 2006 Oscars. It also won for Best Adapted Screenplay and for Best Score. Wow. It was nominated for Best Picture. It lost to Crash, which was the Sandra Bullock, Matt Dillon movie, the one about
Tandy Newton.
Yes, racism in Los Angeles.
Yep, I have... the thing.
They're complicated matters, and movies try and condense complicated matters into an hour and a half, and that's difficult. I mean, this one is 2.5 hours long, so woohoo!
But lots of crying, not just a little bit of crying, like 2.5 hours worth of crying.
Tears, tear tracks. There will be canyons in your face.
Well, I wore the good eyelash glue, so theoretically, they should hold up.
They will.
But
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. If anything, you'll be comforting me as I sob dramatically over the table.
That'll be a first.
I
was one that cried last time, so.
It's the first time you've seen me see this movie.
That's true.
Will I cry? Who knows?
Place your bets.
There's not much else to say. It's a brilliantly acted movie. It's a brilliantly written movie. It's a brilliantly shot movie. Which is, again, one of the things that I at least appreciate, because it's not to say that this was not the first queer movie ever made, it's not the last, it's not the most important, it's not the saddest, but there's a quality and care to it that usually only major studios can pull off, right? And that is, to me, something very important because it really shows that my subject matter is worthy of the same kind of time and investment and frankly money that heterosexual love is worth. Yeah. And that to me is more important than, I mean, there was a lot of criticism for the bury your gays thing and the way that this portrayed gays, and in no way, shape, or form do I disagree, but in situations like this, I believe it's important to take away the positive, never forget the negative, and always remind people of the negative, but really focus on the positive aspects of the movie. And plus, God, it's just so nice to watch two handsome men fall in love.
They are two very handsome men. Yeah. All right, well, we are going to get into this. If you want to stick around and watch me cry for 2.5 hours, well, it'll only be about an hour for you guys, but...
Do it. Well, you know, I want to take a moment to point out that today, I am the pretty one. Do you know why? My outfit. Look at how fashionable this is. God, I cut a smooth figure. Yeah! I'm well themed, and I'm trying to be happy when we watch one of the saddest movies you've ever seen. Yeah.
I'm getting good vibes from your shirt right now.
Where is it?
I'm really, all over the place. It's just everywhere.
There's somewhere, yeah, right? All the positive.
Everywhere. Yes, Sam is the pretty one today.
And today, Jackie is the funny one.
No, Jackie's the sad one. Jackie's gonna be the sad one. So stick around for that.
And this is Brokeback Mountain.
Got my tissues. We don't actually have tissues, so we're using napkins, but I am prepared.
She's ready to cry. I'm already tired.
Where does this actually take place?
I
West,
believe
Midwest?
Montana?
Okay.
No, Colorado. Mountains.
Yeah.
Mountains.
Somewhere in the Rockies.
Yes.
Would make sense.
There you go.
63. Okay.
Wyoming.
Wyoming. There. That makes so much sense. Oh. This definitely has the feeling of an Oscar film. Like, Oscar films utilize silence really well, and they feel very, I don't know, intimate's not quite the right word, but not commercial, if that makes any sense. Like, commercial films are very bright and glamorous and colorful, but there's almost, I don't want to call it a hum, but there's almost just constant sound through it. There's something grabbing your attention at every moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas Oscar films or indie films, etc., tend to utilize the silence a lot better.
This is what made it so surprising that it was a box office success, is because usually art films like this, the way that they're shot and the way that they're put together aren't a big hit with audiences.
No, they're slower paced.
Yeah.
They're not sparkly. They feel more grounded in a way. I love that shot because, one, it's just composed really nicely. It looks really nice. But it's a subtle way of showing us that's where Jake Gyllenhaal is looking. Like, yes, he's shaving in the mirror, but the fact that we start with the reflection of Heath Ledger, we can tell that that's where he's looking. It's a nice, subtle little introduction.
She sees things.
Up on Brokeback, the Forest Service got designated campsites.
So Brokeback is actually the name of the mountain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Never really thought about why.
Yeah.
Fridays at noon to be down at the bridge with your grocery list and mules. Somebody with supplies will be there at the pickup.
So we're establishing, I'm surmising, they're going to be the only two people for miles.
Heck yeah, man.
For a long time.
Heck yeah, man.
That makes a lot of sense.
Just two dudes on a mountain.
What could possibly happen? Subtle way of saying get the fuck out.
Yeah, well, cowboys are all about subtlety.
Silent, stoic types.
Oh, God, it's so attractive when it isn't repressed.
Jack Twist.
Ennis.
Amos? Is that what he said?
Ennis.
Ennis. Jack and Ennis. Okay.
Can't please my old man, no way. That's why I took the rodeo.
Broken family. Check.
That horse has a low startle point. Doubt there's a filly that can throw me.
Famous last words. I doubt there's a filly that can throw me. Filly is a term often used to describe women.
Oh!
There's a very, very subtle way of him saying there isn't a woman that can handle me. Makes sense why.
He's just like, oh, dude.
Lord, give me strength. Very pretty. The Rockies really are beautiful.
Oh, it's such a lovely place. Oh, God. If only Wyoming wasn't so Wyoming, I'd move there in a heartbeat. If only they had an LA there.
It wouldn't be what it is if there was an LA there.
Ah, that's fair.
Subtle longing.
That's a real place.
Alma and me, we'll be getting married when I come down off this mountain.
Are you now?
You heard that, right?
Something about him getting married?
He's got a fiancé.
Yeah.
Long-time fiancé.
Yeah. He's artistic. Establishing the repetition.
No more beans.
Very dull, repetitive nature of what they're doing.
No more beans, though.
It would not be a cowboy movie without beans.
Canned beans.
sense something bad happening. Too much tension in this scene. Oof. Oof. Oof.
Except you're not actually supposed to run from
No.
a bear.
Where the hell you been?
You worried me sick.
What in the hell happened, Ennis?
Come on, a bear is what happened.
Are we gonna have an intimate first aid moment? It's a thing.
Kind
Yeah.
of.
Like, particularly in movies when they apply like first aid to your face and you have those really long stares.
Yes.
Stick with beans.
He's a good boy.
Well, I won't.
Establishing some differences in their character here.
Yes, well,
We have the goody two shoes and the rule breaker.
I'm not sure if you've noticed or not, but their hats are different colors.
Yep. It's a great visual cue. If you've seen Westworld, they use it too.
White hat, black hat.
Yep. There's a reason cowboys are so quiet. Because they have nobody to talk to.
Yep.
They lose their social skills.
All right.
Alrighty then.
I forget this is rated R.
We just had a scene of a naked Heath Ledger, and then the following scene is Jake Gyllenhaal buttoning up his pants. Foreshadowing, ladies and gentlemen.
My dad, he was a fine roper. Didn't rodeo much, though. He thought rodeo cowboys was all fuck-ups.
It's nice to know that that cliche has existed across time and across
Yes.
genre, across mediums.
Yes.
They're not real. They don't do it for. They're for show.
Yes, dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they. Yeah. Just comforting.
But ain't no dashboard, me no.
I think my dad was right.
Intimacy. Getting to know one another.
Yeah, and I do really like the sparing use of music to further reinforce the silence and the quiet of being alone up in the mountains.
Oh, yeah.
And when you do hear music, it's very subtle.
Yeah, and purposeful.
Yeah, well, if I got lucky, that harmonica would have broken too.
Flirty banter.
Sass. In every year.
Yep.
Fells like you and me march off to hell.
Speak for yourself. You may be a sinner, but I ain't yet had the opportunity.
White hat and black hat.
Just so we're clear, drinking to excess is a sin.
Well, according to a lot of religions, so is homosexuality. So them commenting on going to hell.
Oh, you got that, huh?
Yes, I got that. It wasn't that subtle.
It wasn't?
No. I actually do know what that feels like. I have been that cold while camping, and it's why I don't go camping anymore.
Oh, camping's the worst. Well, Heath Ledger's like literally freezing.
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal's just...
It's almost like we need body heat to keep warm. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Wow. Watch an R-rated movie, fellas.
Oh my god. Ah.
That is a lot of pent-up sexual frustration.
Oh, it's also anger. Don't forget the anger.
Yep.
A lot of internal anger.
Yep.
Nothing like internalized homophobia. Very period typical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something happened to the sheep while they were not paying attention?
That would be just terrible.
That would be really terrible.
That would be just terrible if that happened.
Do some soul searching.
Probably no better place in the world to do soul searching than the mountains of Wyoming. No, it's just one.
At least it was just one.
But it's important that Heath Ledger be the one that discovered the dead sheep. Well,
I know there's a reason.
This is a one-shot thing we got going on here.
It's nobody's business but ours.
True.
You know I ain't queer.
Of course not.
Me
Of course
neither.
not.
I mean,
Opens the door though. Every time somebody does something once, they say it's never going to happen again, but the second you do it, it suddenly becomes easier to do it again and again and again.
yeah, but sometimes once is nice. Sometimes never again after the first time.
Depends on the experience.
Yes, and apparently this was an experience worth repeating.
It
And that
wouldn't
says
be a movie
lot.
if it wasn't.
That's true. Plus, they're sober this time.
Setting aside the white hat. Symbol for purity.
I'm running out of places to look. Oh. Intimacy makes me so cringy.
Daw. Oh shit.
Randy Quaid knows.
Yep.
Randy Quaid
But
knows.
it's such a wide angle. See something shot from a view like that, it's usually because someone's watching from a view like that. He's sad. Someone's not ready to go home to his fiance. Oh my god.
Time to get going, cowboy.
It's so flirty.
Yeah, well. This one doesn't seem as romantic for some reason.
No. This devolved. All that repression, all that internalized anger. They're sad to be leaving and they're taking out on each other. They don't want to admit that they're sad it's over.
Yeah, and he sucker punched him too.
They do a really good job of portraying all of those internalized emotions. Because you can't do it with dialogue. It wouldn't work. And it wouldn't suit the character. So they're doing a really, really good job of representing it visually.
They are. It helps, you're right, the chosen moments of silence, sound.
It makes the few moments of action and things that you see much more poignant.
Yes.
You ranch stiffs, you ain't never no good.
They are taking those words in multiple directions. The other thing with a film that has so little dialogue is your dialogue has to be good. It has to be chosen very precisely to convey all the different things you need to convey with it.
I can't believe I left my damn shirt up there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll see you around, huh?
And that's the end of that.
What happens on the mountain stays on the mountain. Emotions can affect you physically. Grief and internalized anger over that grief.
Yes, well, don't forget there's a lot of self-hatred.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you looking at?
It's one of those moments where when you really want to be alone, but you just can't be alone. And you really want to stick with that there is no point where these men don't feel like they're being watched.
The power and the glory forever. Amen.
Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams.
Oh, isn't this how they met?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Who was the one in The Great Gatsby?
Carey Mulligan.
Ah!
Yeah, she and Michelle Williams get mixed up a lot.
Thank you, but they're not, and they shouldn't
No.
be mixed up. All
No.
right, there we go.
I was wondering if he was needing any help this summer.
You're wasting your time here.
He's not looking for work, he's looking for someone.
Ain't got no work for you.
Homophobia.
It was the 60s
Yep.
in Wyoming.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
You guys wasn't getting paid to leave the dogs babysit the sheep while you stem the rows.
Busted.
Now get the hell out of my trailer.
He's being a homophobic asshole. Just saying.
Well, again,
Yeah.
it's part of the experience. It's
Yeah.
part of the experience.
The contrast from earlier in the film where it's constant silence and you showing how alone they are, and now you have the constant crying. It's interesting. Just as I was commenting on that, it occurred to me, it's woman versus man. When he's with his male partner, when he's with Jack, I think,
Jack.
his life is quiet and contemplative and peaceful. Whereas now when he's with a woman, His life is loud and stressful. It's a juxtaposition of opposites. There we go.
Can we move to town?
No, rent in town's too high.
He likes the isolation.
If I remember correctly, and I think I do remember correctly, but there is actually more straight sex in this movie than there is gay sex shown in this movie.
That actually kind of makes sense.
It does.
That does make sense.
It does.
They're coping in different ways. Their lives are loud in different ways now.
Yep.
And self-destructive in their own ways.
Very on rodeo clowns.
He's surrounded by a bunch of white hats. He's seeing Ennis in all of them.
Does he?
I'd like to buy Jimbo here a beer.
He does.
Yeah.
Pulling bulls off of you buckaroos is just my job. So save your money for your next entry fee, cowboy.
That was very subtle. Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. Anne Hathaway.
There you go.
Yep, there she is. Oh, she's so cute.
8 seconds. This sport is supposed to last for 8 seconds. Oh my god.
There is a joke to be made about 8 seconds there somewhere.
I don't get it.
It's okay. Someday, honey.
Someday. Oh! 8 seconds! That's really funny.
It took him longer than 8 seconds to get it, but he got it eventually. We really are fast forwarding through time here.
Rodeo can get him.
It is worth noting that her parents treat him like a servant. So.
Yeah, that wasn't subtle.
And he's just a spitting image of his grandpa.
In other words, you are irrelevant. Is he driving a different black car? He's driving a black truck.
Well, they are rodeo
Oh
hounds.
no, this is Ennis. A subtle way of showing that Jack is still with him.
So you got a postcard to come general delivery.
Friend, this letter is long overdue. Come in through on the 24th. Drop me a line. Something if you're there.
And also, if you'll notice, it was dated September 1967.
So we've jumped ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yes,
they
obviously.
both have kids, so
Yes.
they're married with children. That has to take some time.
Yes.
Is he somebody you cowboyed with or what?
The choice of words.
Yes.
We was fishing buddies.
Fishing buddies.
Mm-hmm. That's one way to put it. I
Well-
mean, you use rods in both arenas.
Look at you being the funny one to die. I like that.
It happens. It happens. To be fair, they left that joke wide open.
Yes, well.
This is the same guitar riff we had up in Brokeback. It's like their theme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense.
He seems stressed.
Gee, I wonder why.
Okay, we take one more bite and then you're finished with dinner.
That is a lot of beers.
You'll also notice the division, right? He's always separate from her. She's always with the kids. There really is. They want to...
Especially in this particular shot, there's literally a line. They're in two different rooms, but there is a line down the middle of the frame, splitting them up. Great visuals. God, he looks like a teenager whose crush just came to pick them up.
God. Ah, soak it in.
Oh, God. Yep. Yep. Saw that coming. And it's violent.
Well,
Yep. Makes sense. Uh-oh. Yeah, you maybe should have waited till you were actually in private. To be fair, that's a lot for her to process.
poor thing. Poor dear.
All three of them.
You know, actually, I have always, in this movie, don't get me wrong, there's a lot to feel bad for Heath Ledger and also Jake Gyllenhaal's characters in this movie, but honestly, I've always just really, Michelle Williams is the one that you feel for her.
But she's done nothing wrong. She didn't know. She had no idea. No. She's the innocent victim.
This is a woman that was failed by a society that produced men that couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone always gets hurt.
It is.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, can't live life without breaking an egg or two.
Yeah. Or getting broken yourself.
Nor getting broken yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I did. I redlined it all the way. I couldn't get here fast enough.
What about you?
Me? I don't know.
Heath Ledger is the one that is more conflicted about everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
For Jake Gyllenhaal, it is a very cut and dry life.
Yeah. Well, Jake is the one... Jack. Jake's character, Jack, is very much the one driving things. Like, you can see he's the one that reached out. He's the one that went back to Brokeback. Like, he's very much the one. And I feel like that fits with the sort of black hat, white hat theme that we're going with. The one who is perceived as, I don't want to say less moral, but the black hat has fewer scruples. Yeah.
Scruples, good one.
Fewer scruples or hang-ups about things, whereas the person with the white hat, the idea is he's probably very religious. He's probably has these ideas of heteronormativity, but purity. And white is always a symbol of purity. And so he's naturally going to feel more conflicted and a lot more self-hatred over it, which I didn't really know if it was appropriate to say earlier, but I found it really interesting. Despite the fact that he wasn't the one that was initiating, he's the one that is...
The top.
The top.
Well, that is what we consider to be the more classically masculine role,
Yeah.
and therefore the one that is perceived as being less of a sinner, because you're still taking the man's position,
Yeah.
right? Which is bullshit, and we can go into queer
Yeah.
theory for years
Yeah.
about this, but
Yeah.
yes.
But it is a very specific detail that enhances the film. It's something that when you look at it, you're like, yes, they thought that through. They knew exactly who these characters were, what positions they would be in, down to the detail. I can absolutely see why it is as revered as it is. It makes sense. They're even blonde and dark-haired. Like.
So I'm stuck with what I got here. Making a living's about all I got time for now.
Again, with him being the conflicted one, he's the one that is seeing no other option. It's, no, I'm living my life. This is something that I cannot tolerate, and I can't even acknowledge exists outside the boundaries of this room, whereas Jack is, how do we do this? He's asking what happens next because he wants more, and he's a lot more comfortable admitting that he wants more.
About our halfway mark, by the way. This is it. This is halfway. We've reached the halfway mark.
We have.
No tears yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Trust me, I'm sure they're coming.
Oh.
You sure that foreman won't fire you for taking off?
You know, that foreman, he owes me. I worked through a blizzard last Christmas.
He won't take time off for his wife, but he'll take time off for Jack.
See you Sunday, ladies.
She plays it really well that she's almost still in shock. Like, yes.
She's crying.
Yeah, she's crying, but that's that moment where she realizes it really, really is true.
Yep, this is...
The shock has worn off and the hurt and the pain.
She saw what she saw.
Yeah. I think up to that point, she almost was trying to convince herself it wasn't what she saw. She wanted... She needed it confirmed, in a way. And so she was waiting, and her wanting to talk is trying to clarify. And the fact that he completely blew her off is going on, it's now real.
Yes, this is real.
You know, it could be like this, just like this always.
You'll notice, though, that Jake Gyllenhaal's hat is not actually black in this one. It is gray.
Showing transition.
What if you and me had a little ranch somewhere, a little cow and calf operation? Be a sweet life.
Jake Gyllenhaal's gonna be the one that dies.
All right, predictions
That's
in.
my prediction.
Predictions in.
That's
that
my
Jake
guess.
is the one that bites the bullet.
He's the one that's dreaming about their life. The dreamer is always the one that bites it. The one that wants better.
That's mean.
It's true, though. It's absolutely true, because that makes it sadder. When it's the one that wants more, when the one that's dreaming, it makes it so much sadder when they're the one that dies. And, it's going to sound really fucked up, but he's the one that has fewer conflicts over it. And so, therefore, by the laws of purity and fucked up heteronormativity, he's the one that has to die. That deserve to die the most. I don't believe that, but that is how fucked upness works. So I predict that Jack is going to be the one that dies.
This is why it's so hard to watch movies with motherfucking film students. God.
Because we're literally trained to look for this shit.
Anyway,
Sorry if I just ruined this.
back to Jake painting your
I'm
future.
just saying. Had to get it out there.
I told you, it ain't gonna be that way.
Is that white hat on?
I just thought of another piece of symbolism. People traditionally wear black to funerals because it's the color of mourning, but black is not actually the color of death. When it comes to symbolism, white is actually the color of death. It's angelic, it's heavenly, it's this idea of
The next life.
the next life. And I think it's interesting, going off my theory that Jack is going to be the one that dies. His hat has now transitioned from black to gray. He's moving toward the light, in a way.
It's so irritating to watch movies with film students.
You were a film student.
Yeah, but I didn't graduate with a good grade. Jesus, they handed me to my diploma to get me gone.
There were these two old guys ranched up together down home. They found Earl dead in an irrigation ditch. Took a tire iron to him.
I don't like the foreshadowing that we're getting right now. I don't like this.
Violent.
I don't like this.
Violent death. Painfully violent
I
death.
don't like this. And it's Ennis that's the one saying that he witnessed it or he saw the aftermath of it, which is just foreshadowing that he's gonna see it again.
It's so hard.
I'm sorry.
No, what? Don't apologize to me. And like, look, this is sad and shit, but this really bothers me because this is one of those scenes that reinforces this concept that it's wrong to be the dreamer when it comes to queer ideals. Oh, this is one of those scenes, like, I get it, it's beautiful, but like, if I was in the, Jesus, mid-2000s, in my 30s and straight and male and was dragged to see this movie by my girlfriend, this would not reinforce positive queer ideals for me.
No.
No.
But that's tragically why things like this were acceptable
Yes.
at the time, because it is reinforcing that.
Yes.
It's, we're going to show you this, but we're going to make sure you know that it's wrong.
Yep.
And that's the only reason you feel okay watching it.
Yep.
Which, in itself, is wrong. What's
Yeah.
happening is not wrong. The fact that they're saying it's the only way we can show it is wrong.
Yep.
So I can understand why you have very mixed feelings about
Yes,
it.
it's so hard.
Yeah.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
Such a shit message.
Oh, absolutely.
But-
absolutely.
But also historically accurate.
Oh, 100%.
So, right? So
yeah.
it gets complicated.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult line to walk of, we want to be accurate and we
Are
want to
accurate.
show you the real tragedy of
Yeah.
what it was at the time, but also acknowledging you're getting a really crappy message. And this is an
Yes.
outdated message.
Yes.
And this
Yes.
is a very difficult line
Yes,
to walk.
It is.
Yeah. That also explains why there's more heterosex than there is homosex.
God damn it, Elma! Elma!
You girls need a push or something?
Poor kids too. They're seeing this, they're watching this. That's heartbreaking, informative. Jack and Ennis aren't the only victims of this. Like we talked about, Michelle Williams' character is a victim as well, but the children, you look at the long-term effects
Oh, yeah, man.
of closets,
This.
of situations like this.
Yes.
It perpetuates the cycle. It just keeps going.
It
and going and
does.
going.
It's awful. And one of, in my opinion, again, one of the complicated things about this movie, but one of the great things, is it shows pain in a way that's very understandable, very accurate, and very feeling.
Well, again, with something like an indie film, in a big budget film, something massive, perfectly curated colors and visuals, and something that is a visual spectacle, because again, they're trying to keep your attention.
Yeah.
Whereas something like this, there's no fancy lighting, there's no
Dramatic
cuts and close-ups and swells of music. It's just there.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it that much more real, but that's also why this type of film doesn't always appeal to broader audiences.
No.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's an art house film. It's why a lot of people don't actually like Oscar films. They don't. It's a thing.
It's true.
I told you what you could do. Now let me show you.
Welcome to the family business. He's being forced to conform. Soon, in a couple weeks. Fish should be jumping. Like I said, it's a euphemism.
Daddy, the church picnic's next weekend. Will you be back from fishing by next weekend?
Will you be back from your illicit rendezvous in time to go to church? Go do your sin, come back and repent. It's the cycle. It does make you wonder when you hear like your parents or your grandparents or that talking about all the fishing trips they used to take or whatever.
Oh,
like
are you
the boys' trips?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
My family is rife with homos.
Following up on our comments that it's much more peaceful and quiet when they're together. It's also city versus country. It's idyllic. It's beautiful. It's peaceful, but it's also free. The idea of like going out into the woods and into nature is very symbolic of freedom.
Yeah.
Whereas city life is very confined. It's very rigid and regimented and visual symbolism.
For each of the minor children until they reach the age of 18 years. Delmar, divorce granted.
I love Heath Ledger in that moment of acknowledging that he is upset that this is happening. He's the conflicted one. He hates hurting her. He hates that his life is falling apart, but there's nothing he can do about it.
Nope.
And that helplessness.
Meanwhile, happy as a clam with his double life.
Got your card, a divorce came through.
Yeah.
Oh, he's hopeful.
Okay.
I guess I thought that this means you.
Yeah. If there's a business.
Yeah. Into darkness. Fading into the darkness. That's tragically symbolic.
You ought to get married again, Ennis. Me and the girls worry about you being alone so much.
That's a really, really sad thing for her to say because of the double meaning there. As heartbroken as she is, as hard as it is for her, she is saying that she worries about him and she knows that him getting married again will help hide what she knows is happening.
But still.
Yeah. That speaks to her character too, that as heartbroken as she is, she still cares.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Jack nasty. You didn't go up there to fish. You and him.
Listen, you don't know nothing about her.
Repress things, they come out violently.
Oh, yes. Yes.
No, I don't want to say that because I don't. Nope.
You sure? Say it. 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 Say it.
Is he gonna kill Jack?
That is a dark and awful direction that this movie would take. You haven't been wrong yet.
You a Marine? It's normal and all? Sure. You don't ever suspect.
She doesn't care enough to suspect, fool.
Well, she doesn't care to suspect, but I feel like that's also a moment that could be hinting that Jack is bisexual. It doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other. And
It
so
doesn't.
the fact that his marriage is surviving in some way could mean that he is not as particular in that sense. Just
It's possible.
could be.
Then you go out on the pavement and everyone's looking at you like they all know too.
Manifestation of a guilty conscience.
Heck yeah, man.
Just finished my chef. Is that Linda Cardellini? Or Cardinelli? Which one is it? Yeah, it is! I love her.
And then I pledged Tridale at SMU, and I sure never thought I'd end up in a...
It's Hopper!
Who? Oh, it's Anna Faris.
That's Anna Faris?
That's Anna Faris.
David Harbour, that's his name. He's the police officer, Hopper, detective, I don't know what his rank is, in Stranger Things. He's also in Black Widow and...
Oh, yes. Fun fact. I've not seen Stranger Things.
Really? Not at all?
Not at all. Have no idea what it's about. I have successfully managed to avoid anything about Stranger Things for years now.
You do realize that if I put that up on the internet,
That's fine.
they will demand.
I mean, sure. But I can honestly say years without being spoiled by it. I know 2 things about Stranger Things. It's set in the 80s, and Winona What's-Her-Face is in it. That's all I know.
But yes, that is David Harbour, and he's one of those actors that once you start to recognize him, you start to see him pop up everywhere. Yeah, he's great.
Working actors. They will make the business
It's
go
the
round.
dream.
Well, you've never been very mechanical, though.
The subtext.
Oh, look at the color of their hats.
Party.
We ought to go down there some weekend. Drink a little whiskey, fish some.
Gone fishing. Do him credit. He does right by his daughters.
Hey, Mara. Wow, everybody's in this movie. These visits are not as fun as they used to be.
Well, times have changed.
Yeah.
You know, friend, this is a goddamn bitch of an unsatisfactory situation.
That is a succinct way to put it.
You forget what it's like being broke all the time.
It is very uncomfortable.
I can only imagine the struggle it must be when you're living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, and it's a struggle that too many people go through, obviously.
Yeah.
Sounds awful and hard. How do you do it?
I work my ass off.
Yeah, there's very little ass there, but what is there is tight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Because I hear what they got in Mexico for boys like you.
Boys like you, not boys like us.
You'll notice, and this is one of the things that I appreciate this movie. Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal's beer gut is obviously fake. But if you'll look, Heath Ledger has had just the slightest amount of aging put into his face to show, in my opinion, that he is the more weathered, stressed. Yeah. So I like the look.
Well, the subtle lightness to his hair, the subtle graying of the blonde, it's in the details.
Nope, it's in the details. Time has passed. They are different men.
But Heath's character, Ennis, is experiencing a different kind of stress.
Yes.
Again, he's the conflicted one. He's the one that is constantly in his head about it. And that shows physically.
Yeah.
Stress ages you.
Yeah. No, it does.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
That's where that line comes from.
I've definitely heard that one.
Why don't you just let me be, huh?
Don't let him go. Let him be.
Because of you, Jack, that I'm like this. Nothing. I'm nowhere.
He makes it sound like torture. You say, let me be, you're literally saying you're torturing me.
It's all right. Damn you, Ennis.
Jack wants it, and Ennis is plagued by it.
I just can't stand this anymore, Jack.
What's romantic in your 20s is really shitty in your 40s.
Good for you.
Don't leave the miserable son of a bitch alone.
Yeah.
She's so good, too.
Yeah, she's
God,
fantastic.
all the women really killed this movie.
Yeah.
Actually, they all killed this movie.
Yeah.
Ennis, girls don't fall in love with fun.
Betrayal of broken hearts. This man leaves. Cowboy life. Damn.
That's why I'm calling, is see what happened.
Oh, yeah. The rim of the tire slammed into his face, broke his nose and jaw, and knocked him unconscious on his back. By the time somebody come along, he drowned in his own blood. He was only 39 years old. He used to say he wanted his ashes scattered on Brokeback Mountain. I wasn't sure where that was. Knowing Jack, it might be some pretend place where bluebirds sing and there's a whiskey spring.
I was half right.
Yes.
I knew he'd get beaten to death. She obviously knows. Like, she obviously knows the truth, and that's very much the story that they're telling.
Well, that is one perspective. The other perspective is that, I mean, he could have just died from a tire accident. And in Ennis's mind, though, because of the trauma from his youth, he could see that. Or you could be right. It could be either.
It's very open in Anne Hathaway's performance because there's a frustration in her performance that isn't, this is an awful tragedy. And that could stem from, we just had a bad marriage.
Yeah.
And God rest his soul, but I didn't have any love for him left. Or it could very much be, I know exactly what happened, but I don't know your relationship to him, and we're trying to hide what happened. So this is the story that we're giving. It could definitely go either way.
Yeah, it could. And the truth of the matter is unfortunately that was very realistic. It happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't talk about the circumstances of people's death because it's too shameful, which is in and of itself a shameful thing.
We was herding sheep on Brokeback one summer. Back in '63.
Well, he said it was his favorite place.
It's all clicking for her.
We was good friends.
Yeah, she knows.
Of course she knows.
Yeah. Not really a lot to say right now.
No.
Sorry, guys.
It's a hard moment.
Sterile.
Want a cup of coffee, don't you?
It's stark white and the only decorations are religious. Quite an environment to grow up in.
Good God.
I feel awful bad about Jack.
That's a really interesting shot because the hat is hanging over his head. He's not wearing it. It's a gray hat over his head. It's the first time we see him even associated with a hat that's not white.
Had some half-baked notion the two of you was gonna move up here. Cabin, help run the place.
Subtle.
You are welcome to go up to his room if you want.
His mom's definitely more sympathetic.
Of course.
Yeah.
Usually mothers tend to be.
Yeah. There's just so much white.
So much white. Who wants a white floor? Oh.
Yeah, but that's a visual contrast to the fact that Jack was always wearing the black hat. It's
He stuck out.
Yeah, he stuck out, but it's
He was
it's
the black sheep.
rebellion.
Oh, that was funny. Shut up.
That was funny.
Oh God, what a room.
No wonder he was a dreamer. You grew up in a place like that, all you can do is dream.
Heck yeah.
He found some secret. Oh, from their last day. He said he left his shirt up there. Jack took it.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted something to remember it. They aged him really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's subtle.
But it's so good.
You know what? I reckon they can find themselves a new cowboy.
There you go.
A little girl getting married to Alma and Kurt.
He's a good dad.
He tries.
He messed everything else up, but he's a good dad.
I'm folding it for her. Good dad.
Slipped it. So now Jack's shirt is on the outside.
Because he's remembering Jack instead of Jack remembering him.
Jack, I swear.
Brokeback Mountain. So that was Brokeback Mountain.
I didn't eat these.
She actually got tearier at Love, Simon than she did at this, which is probably a good and a bad thing.
Really says a lot about me.
I did all of my sobbing on the inside.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't want to say it fell apart in the third act because I do understand the direction. I do understand where they were going.
You can just say you didn't like the ending. Plenty of people didn't like the ending for a lot of reasons.
I didn't like the ending.
There, you said it. I'm really actually proud of you.
No, well, this is something you guys, if you watch more of our videos, you'll probably hear me say a lot, and it's something I say to people a lot when I'm talking about movies. And it's something one of my professors used to say. He said, just because a movie is good doesn't mean you have to like it. And
it's true.
Vice versa, just because a movie is bad doesn't mean you have to hate it. There are some truly terrible movies that I adore.
Heck yeah.
And some
Heck yeah.
truly, on paper, incredible movies that I never, ever, 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 ever need to see again.
That's fair.
Never.
Yeah,
Nope.
that's fair.
On a technical level, this was fantastic. Technically, absolutely. The fact that, again, I was able to predict that it was going to be Jack that died was due to the writing, because things should never come out of nowhere.
That's
Even
true.
if they feel like they come out of nowhere,
They shouldn't.
you should be able to go back and trace, that's why that happened. That makes sense. And what happens absolutely makes sense. And it also makes sense now that I'm looking back, that minor flashback moment the last time they see each other. I at first didn't realize that was a flashback. It wasn't until you mentioned, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That bookends the last time they ever see each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much him remembering it the way he would want to. And yes, the tragedy of that being the last time they see each other. And yes, an off-screen death is tragic in its own way.
Yeah.
It's very anticlimactic, and that's the point in this film. That's something that annoys me because I feel like I didn't get a payoff that I wanted, but that's kind of the point.
It is.
It's the tragedy of you don't get closure. You don't get things ending the way that you want them to. Sometimes they just happen and you're left with it.
Yeah, life doesn't just stop.
Yeah.
You have to keep going.
And that also lends itself to the fact that this is an independent film. This is not a studio film.
Yeah.
Even studio tragedies give you some
No, they wrap it up.
Yeah, they wrap it up and you get closure. You get a finale. This, in not having a finale, was incredibly poignant, but it also leaves you feeling really empty. And not in I feel like I just watched an epic tragedy sort of way, just like, what? Wow, oh. Okay, all right. I personally didn't feel the weight of it. I got it, I get it, but
Honey, the
I
weight
didn't feel
of it
it.
is that you didn't feel the weight of it.
Yeah.
This is a movie that will stick with you because it is not this
Yeah.
overt tragedy, right?
well, that's why it's effective. And
Yes.
that's why, again, on a technical level, it's excellent.
Yeah.
It's fantastically done.
Doesn't mean you have to like it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely not. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the performances. I appreciate, again, all of the detail that went into it. It really, really was a spectacular film. That being said, I understand why people have mixed feelings about it.
Of course.
I understand from your perspective of this is a very, very unhealthy portrayal in the sense that you're perpetuating or you're demonstrating that very toxic version of it. And yes, that was true at the time, but it's hard. And yeah, it will stay with you. It will stay with me.
Yeah.
It absolutely will, because it was an effective ending. It leaves you feeling the way it wants it to leave you feeling. And that in itself is unsatisfactory. And that's the point.
Yeah. No.
I do like going back to that final moment of him with the gray hat hanging over him.
Yeah.
It leaves him a lot more ambiguous, whereas the entire film he's been so conflicted and wearing the white because he feels like he has to, and that's what he's trying to be.
Yeah.
And so it took Jack dying for him to finally accept that
What
was
going on.
okay. And bury your gaze. It's really, really
It's a
sad.
thing. It's a
And-
real thing.
Yeah, it's really sad and really tragic that that's what it took. And it's kind of it reminds me of the trope, that's the very, very annoying trope in heterosexual cinema of the only way for the man to grow is for the wife to
Dead
die.
wife syndrome. Dead wife syndrome.
That's kind of what this felt like, and I think that's part of why I felt so frustrated, is I feel like we were literally forcing a hetero trope onto it, and I'm just like, what? Just why? Why do you need to do that?
Growth does not necessarily have to come from death.
No, it doesn't. You can grow without.
But that being said, the best fertilizer that you can give your plants does contain dead flesh. So
Take that however you will. We're going to leave that ambiguous enough that we cannot be brought into any court of law for anything you guys may do.
My roses are beautiful.
Yes. I'm so happy for you.
Do you want to know why?
No, I don't. Plausible deniability, thank you very much.
Fair.
No, it really was an excellent film. I understand why it's iconic. I understand why it was nominated and had all these wonderful accolades. That being said, I didn't cry. Sorry.
That's okay. I didn't cry out loud either. Again, because all of my sobbing happened on the inside. But on the inside, I was sobbing like a small child. Mostly.
Oh, it's sad. It is.
And, you know, what makes it hard, or not hard, but what makes it really, you know, I actually kind of, part of me, again, this is the difficult part, because part of me loves the pain, because that is real, that is history, and it's important to feel the pain and the emptiness in that, and I want people to feel the pain and the emptiness of it. What so much bothers me about the fact that this is one of the most widely regarded pieces of queer cinema in mainstream media, is not the fact that it's a tragedy, because tragedy happens queer or straight. Tragedy is tragedy. It's life. But there are 1,000,005 heterosexual rom-coms out there. They've been going on since the 20s. So for every single sad cinema you have in heterosexual relationships, you have 1,000 happy ones.
The ratio is flipped.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what makes it hard, because there are so few good gay rom-coms or queer rom-coms at all. And so instead of there being this balance for the mainstream viewer to have, they get this.
Well, because again, making a comedy out of something is saying it's acceptable, is saying that it's fine. You make a tragedy of it, someone dies, it's a lesson. It's this is what happens when you do this, and, well, they did a wrong thing, so we had to kill them. It's perpetuating that message. Whereas when you make a comedy, it's okay. You get to laugh. These people are happy. They're not allowed to be happy. They're doing is wrong.
So there's a lot of that. But it is still a beautiful movie, and it's such a recommended movie to see, not just because it's a queer piece of cinema and it's important to be supportive and all of that, but it's just a good goddamn movie.
It really is. It hits everything that it needs to, and you can pick it apart. I mean, we sat here, I broke down every single shot, every single thing. Like, you can pick it apart and it holds up, because it accomplishes exactly what it wants to accomplish.
Which I think a lot of credit goes to direction, and this is why Ang Lee really deserved his award, and why Ang Lee is one of the top directors of the era. Man is brilliant with his use of just a little bit and a little too much and a little not enough. I love it.
No, but again, back to that, just because something is good doesn't mean you have to like it, etc. This is a technically spectacular film.
Will you ever watch it again?
Probably not.
Nope.
And that's okay, because I got to experience it, I got to enjoy it, and I do genuinely appreciate it. For those of you who are going to come for me and say that you adore this movie and how dare I not want to watch it again.
Come for her.
By all means, I completely understand where you are coming from. I do understand why you feel that way, and everybody has their movie that they feel personal about and that they will die on that hill for, and I respect that. I just... No. I can't form a coherent thought at this point. My brain's all
too sad.
Too sad. Anyway, that was Brokeback Mountain, our second film of Pride Month.
And our second film, period. We are doing GBF next week.
Yay! We're going back to the comedies.
The exact opposite of this movie by a lot.
We're definitely bookending it. We did Love Simon last week and GBF next week. We're bookending. As you can tell, we appreciate the queer comedies.
Heck yeah, man. Support the right to love and be funny.
Exactly. So if you enjoyed this, by all means, please drop a like or a comment. Tell us your stories. Tell us what you think. Come for me in the comments. If you're mad at me, by all means, I welcome it. Love to hear from you guys.
God, the fan fiction for this movie is terrible. Thank you. Bye.
What a note to end on.